Welcome back to Treasury Department's in the final year of a pilot program in collaboration with the Social Security Administration. Treasury is using SSA's Death Master File data in its Do Not Pay database. Justin Marisco, Assistant Commissioner of the Bureau of the Fiscal Service at Treasury, tells FedGov Today's George Jackson what makes up the Do Not Pay list and how any agency can use it.
Essentially, Do Not Pay is a collection of 23 data sources and risk analytics that work with those data sources that let agencies and states know that recipients, awardees, beneficiaries who they are about to make awards to or that they already have awards to may be at a high risk of improper payments or potential fraud.
You mentioned a couple of those words. I'm going to key in and just sort of foot stomp for our audience's benefit. Prevent, detect, and recover. You have some relatively recent data on this, fiscal year 25. What did you find in that data?
So the top priority that we have in our office is doing exactly what you just said. It is preventing, detecting, and recovering improper payments and suspected fraud. And we have a methodology that we use to measure our success in doing that, and we have a goal that we've set for how much improper payments and fraud we're actually able to prevent, detect, and recover. And in FY25, we have just calculated that the results of our work in Do Not Pay and other programs at Treasury have reached $11.7 billion for the year. The reason that that's notable is that it is a 63% increase over the amount that we reported last year and the highest that we have ever reported as a program. We had $7.2 billion in FY24 and again 11.7 in FY25. A lot of this is driven by the focus on new types of products that we're delivering to customers and just increased usage that we have by existing customers. And I'll give you one example of this. Just inside the Do Not Pay system itself, in FY25, our customers pinged our data sources and our analytics 614 million times, meaning that they are searching for entities through our API, they're using our search interface, or they're sending us bulk files and we're screening them. So that's 614 million screenings that we did for agencies and states is a 2x increase over what we did last year. So that's what's driving a lot of the increase in the value that we're creating.
Is that a management push? Is that better technology? And I'm asking specifically about the increased usage. I understand the product side, but how do you get out there and increase usage? What goes into that?
So I'll tell you right now, what we've identified is what we've done is tried to start with the problem that we're fighting. And I've been working this role for about a year, and when you get into the world of improper payment and anti-fraud, you know that the numbers that we are fighting government-wide are quite significant. A couple years ago, GAO produced a report saying that on an annual basis, the government loses between $200 billion and $500 billion per year. Separately from that, the government reports improper payments totals on an annual basis, and those are north of $150 billion per year. So we're starting with the scale of the problem and trying to make sure that we have solutions that can scale and can really address the problem. And we've identified two areas that we're trying to focus on right now. One is just driving increased usage of Do Not Pay amongst agencies. And we have been working with OMB on streamlining the process for agencies to get access to Do Not Pay and use it. And the second priority that we have is making sure that we have sufficient data sources to actually address the root causes of fraud and improper payments across the government. There are some areas where we have really solid coverage today. One example is death. If an agency is making a payment to a dead person, there's really only two reasons I think that that's happening. One is that they're legally obligated to do it, such as in the case of a savings bond being paid to an estate. The other case is they're just not using Do Not Pay. We have 7 data sources on death and really good coverage But there are other areas, other root causes of improper payments and fraud where we don't have great coverage, and we need to focus on getting access to those data sources, getting them into Do Not Pay, getting agencies to use them on a regular basis.
One of those sources, and you referenced it sort of overtly, is this death master file maintained for a long time exclusively by the Social Security Administration. BFS got access to that in 2023, I think, 3-year pilot program. You were saying before we went on the air, Justin, you've got some news to make relative to that today.
So we have, like you said, we got access, Congress gave us access for 3 years to pilot the use of the death master file, which is the most complete and authoritative source of death data that there is in America. And we conducted the pilot in partnership with Social Security. We showed really good results from that, hundreds of millions of dollars in fraud and improper payments that we can prevent. And we worked with Congress on showing them the results of that. And as a result of the successful pilot, Congress, both houses of Congress recently passed S269, which gives Treasury the permanent authority to have access to the death master file.
Okay.
I'm hopeful that we're going to see the president signing that legislation into law, and it'll make it official for us to get access to the death master file on a permanent basis. This is not the end of the story for us, though. There are other data sources that we know will provide good results in preventing fraud and improper payments, but we need the legislative authority to get access to them. I'll just give you like one quick example of that. So there's a data source that's produced by the Social Security Administration also. It's called Numident, and it is the authoritative record of Social Security numbers that are issued by SSA. When we get Social Security numbers on a payment file, we think that we should be able to screen those to understand if those are real Social Security numbers. In many cases, people are using synthetic Social Security numbers as a way to get access to funds that they're not entitled to. And there are definitely instances that we've seen of people trying to perpetuate fraud to do that. If we get access to this data source, we will be able to detect if any Social Security number is true and issued by the Social Security Administration, or if it hasn't been. And we are actually in the process of designating this data source in Do Not Pay, which will allow us to use it. But the challenge that we have is that some statutory restrictions will keep us from fully using it across all payments and all programs. So we're hoping that Congress will take this up and help us to get additional legislative authority so that we'll be able to fully leverage this data source, so we know anytime there's an SSN present, we are authorized to check to make sure that it's real and that it's not being used in pursuit of fraud.
You can read more about the Do Not Pay list on today's show page at fedgovtoday.com. FedGov Today continues in just a moment.